Hello guys and welcome to another episode of There's No Place Like Summer Camp. Now in this episode it's something a bit different. It's where do I see myself in 5 years? And now this is a blog post that I wrote back in 2017, April 26th. So I thought it would be a good episode here to talk about that blog that I wrote back then, and then I'm going to be doing a follow-up episode where I sort of put my thoughts out there as to whether I've achieved or missed some of these 5-year goals. So coming into our tent and I'll spill the beans. And welcome to There's No Place Like Summer Camp. Now, I know that this episode is a bit out there, it's a bit different, it's not wholly around summer camp, it's a little bit of an insight into who I am. Now, this podcast, like I say at the start of this podcast, it's a where do you see yourself in 5 years? Now, if you didn't know, I do have my own author website, andrewwaterhouse.com. And in there, I just use it as like a portfolio website. It's more of a showcase of remembrance of my working career, and occasionally I do blog posts. I think the last blog post was in like the start of 2021, so it's been some time since I actually did a blog post on my own author website, but I've been so busy with the book, so busy with work and everything else, that this has really taken a back seat. Now, like I say, this episode isn't really about summer camp, it's more about getting to know me a bit more. Now, before we begin this actual episode, I have not read this in advance. I have not read it since the 26th of April 2017 that it was written, and I saw it was coming up. And I was like, oh my God, like it's been 5 years and I have no idea what's on this list. So I think in this episode, what I'm going to do is literally read it word for word. Maybe you get some reaction from me as I read through this blog post. And then in the next episode, I might read you guys my response to the where do I see myself in 5 years and my response to the 2017 5-year plan. So yeah, I do know that this is a different kind of content, but I think it's good to get to know who I am away from the writing of There's No Place Like Summer Camp, because it's a bit about me in this one. So I hope you enjoy this one. If you do, please rate and subscribe on your podcast platform of choice. Let's crack in. Let's crack open the beers. And let's see what I wrote back in 2017. And let's see how I'm doing in 2022. Okay, so I'm going to just do a verbatim read through this blog post. If you don't know what verbatim is, it's just literally reading as it is. And we're just going to react as we go. I have no idea what's in this. I haven't read this in advance. If it turns out that this episode is really shit and I'm exposing too much, first of all, why would I have wrote that in a blog post? But second of all, this podcast probably wouldn't get uploaded, so we'll see. So if you're listening to this, it's been a successful episode. We'll see. Okay, so it's called Where Do You See Yourself in 5 Years? And you can always go onto my author website, andrewwaterhouse.com. I have a blog in there. You'll be able to read through it with me, but otherwise, lay back and let's see what I wrote back in 2017. So where do I see myself in 5 years' time? It's a question I've been pondering to myself recently. I have searched high and low online for insightful advice, but it's surprising to see that the results were all related to job interviews. It's about time someone makes an article on this. There's a reason why employers ask for your long-term plans in life. They want the security that you are applying for a job that you will be passionate about. They also hope you will be a long-term happy employee too. Yet this is a question that should transcend beyond an interview room. Having goals in your life is crucial to living a fulfilled one. In this modern day and age, it's all too easy to take the easy street. Society brings everybody up to be a consumer in this capitalist world. The customer always comes first. is a rhetoric that everybody is familiar with. Putting the elusive customer first makes the customer role in life an easy, quick fix one. Think to yourself when the last time you made something. And by that, I don't mean the sandwich you made for lunch. I bet you're scratching your head. Living life as a customer is all too easy. Everyone panders to your every need. Living for the 9 to 5 as an employee and then the weekends as a consumer means that you aren't challenging yourself. You can go through life without seeing the bigger picture of what you are missing out on. I started That's Your Best Bet back in 2012. I don't know what got into me the day I took the step out of my comfort zone. I wanted more from the world. Starting my own casino website was a great way to test myself, grow and manage something on the side. And that's my driving force. I want to leave a small mark on this world while I try new things. I don't simply want to be a consumer of things until I hit a bucket. You shouldn't be satisfied with that either. Now, just before I move on, I haven't read any further. That's Your Best Bet. That was one of my first projects into delving into entrepreneurship. It's a casino-based website where people would be able to compare sign-up offers from different bookmakers like Paddy Power, Ladbrokes, William Hill, all of the big names in the UK. They could see which one's offering the best offer. They would click through, and then I would get a commission based on those people that would sign up. Now, that website actually, since this has been written, I believe, or it might even come up in this this blog post later on. I can't remember the exact date that this was quashed, but That's Your Best Bet was. I did close it down because there was too many regulations, especially in the casino space, where I just couldn't keep up. A one-man band trying to run a casino-type website with all these new regulations and making sure your offers are constantly up to date, it's a very hard job to do. And it came to a point where it was borderline breaking the law, so I had to close down That's Your Best Bet. But it was a great project, and if you do want to go and have a look at what That's Your Best Bet did used to look like, you can go on to andrewwaterhouse.com, check out my portfolio. There's some screenshots, there's some text there all about why it was closed down. So I would class that as one of my very first proper official steps into trying to do a side hustle. Where did I get up to? Everybody has an entrepreneurial spirit that seeks independence and growth. Now, I still believe that, but I think a lot of people take the easy street, so we'll see what I come up with in the rest of this blog. Not doing anything is doing something. On to more topical matters. Over the past year or so, I have knuckled down on my book. There's No Place Like Summer Camp is coming on well and has taken strides as I seek to improve myself as a writer. Do I have the qualifications to be a writer? No. Have I done any courses on becoming one? No. It's the self-discipline and passion which has taken the book from strength to strength. I cannot wait to have it out on the market. While my book has been coming on well, I've been refining its content so much so that I have been building up my wanderlust once again, and I now find myself seeking my next big thing. In doing so, I have been pondering this simple question: where do I want to see myself in 5 years' time? See, it's interesting. Back in 2017, I was still writing There's No Place Like Summer Camp, and it's true that There's No Place Like Summer Camp took approximately 6 years to get from a simple diary that didn't really make sense into a fully fledged book that it is today, and I'm very proud of where it's got to. So just as a reminder, There's No Place Like Summer Camp is available. Go onto Amazon, go onto your favourite book retailer, you should be able to pick it up no matter where you are in the world. Give it a read, give it a review. I'd really appreciate some reviews, and there's some bonus content in there as well if you pick up a copy, so check that out, let me know what you think. Okay, so I was saying about where do I want to see myself in 5 years' time. Okay. So, I'd love to be an established member of the team where I'd have more responsibilities as I seek to grow up the company hierarchy, is a typical response in an interview. I'm not critiquing the answer, but I do think that this question is something we should ask ourselves outside of the workplace. Living in the short term you can get by is a simple philosophy which can become a pit with a lack of progression. Many people these days take the same monotonous path to make sure that ends meet. They do not consider the bigger picture. I know too many people who hate the situation they find themselves in, but procrastinating about making a change keeps them there. It's only until they hear the words, you do realise by not doing something about your problem, you're still going to be doing something about it. All you're doing is settling for your problem. And that's when their eyes open up to what they are doing to themselves. Now, before I continue, I can tell that I'm quite bunged up, and I do apologise for that. The COVID is still sort of in my body. This is a complete tangent. So I did a COVID test earlier in the week, and it's been about a week of symptoms. The symptoms have really come off a cliff now, so I don't really feel like I have COVID, but I did a test, I think Wednesday or Thursday this week, and it was still positive. It was a much fainter line. Whether that means anything in regards to like how strong of a COVID I still have, I don't know. It's still positive, it's just much fainter of a line compared to when I had that first day of symptoms, and I was like, oh god, it's COVID all over again. So I do apologise if it does sound quite bunged up. I should really go and get some like medication to help like clear the sinuses, but I'm really not a person that likes to do that. I like to let my body overcome all illness. I don't know. That's probably not a good thing. It's probably not a healthy thing, but I just like that way of doing things. So anyway, let's go back to this blog post. So where do I see myself in 5 years? So the next title says, Procrastination is my worst enemy. I'm now in my mid-20s, which is probably the reason for all the gusto and seeking more from normal life, but I cannot understand why people put off doing things so much. Lack of accomplishment is devastating to me. All too often, friends, family and strangers have excuses for not doing what they want to do with their lives. I haven't got the time. I can't quit my job. I can't afford it. Are all pathetic excuses for deep-rooted reasoning. I'm too scared to take a risk. I watched a TED Talk the other week which sums up this predicament well. Instead of saying, I'm too busy, replace it with, it's not a priority, and it will open your eyes. Such folk find themselves dissatisfied with where they are in life. Not prioritising their ambitions first has meant they are stuck in a rut. Will they do anything about it? Will they heck? Currently, I find myself seeking more from life again. The book has sparked a light bulb moment to grow as a person once more. Browsing through Skyscanner and YouTube travel vlogs, I can't help but want to travel. But yet, I find myself looking in the mirror and asking, where do I want to be in 5 years' time? So, where do I see myself? I'm in my mid-20s now. I've come to realise I need to ask myself this important question. So where do I see myself in 5 years' time? Well, I want to have a big fancy car, paying off a mortgage in a job I love. I want to grow in a company, perhaps making video games, where hard work pays off with a complete product to show for it. There's perhaps more I could add, like relationship status, health, and more, but for now, I think that will do. At the moment, my life could be swung in a big way. I can settle down and buy that fancy car and start a mortgage, or seek more while I can. It's been tearing me up for a while as I peek through the keyhole into the adult world. I'm procrastinating. I took to the forums asking for any advice and a flood of messages greeted me. Allow me to sum them up. Things are always just that, simply things. If you spend everything on settling down with a fancy car and a mortgage, will you be happier? Probably not, because that's it. They're just things. You'll be sat in your house with a fancy car in the drive, surrounded by cool things. You'll be tied down because you can't exactly pause a mortgage, nor can you sell that car for half the price it cost you. You'll be unhappy just surrounded by things. Experiences, though, well, that's what makes a person grow. You'll find the best of friends in new people as you experience different cultures and ways of living. All that hard work of saving money will be put toward incredible memories while you live the life of your dreams, if only briefly. If all you are doing is working for things, then what is the point in working at all? The world is full of adventure. You only need to take that risky step first to experience it. Sure, it's easier said than done, but too many people these days are afraid of taking a leap of faith. A happy life doesn't get handed to you on a plate, so go out there and grab it. Adventure is out there. I'm going to save the big news for another blog post. I've got some planning to do. See you at the next one. A. P.S. Bonus points if you got the very subtle Walking Dead reference. And that's it. That's the blog post of where I see myself in 5 years. So it's clear to see that back then, 5 years ago, this is nuts, like 5 years, isn't it? It doesn't even feel that long ago. But I know exactly where I was at the time that I was writing this. It's just crazy to think. Like I thought this blog post would have a lot more. I want to achieve X. I want to achieve Y. I want to be married. I want to have kids. I want to have this. I want to have that. I want to have this. I want to have that. Instead, it's more about the adventure side. And I'm at an age now where I can honestly say that I'm. The 20s are a bit of if I have to be honest, it's probably the worst decade in a way. There's lots of bad things about it. You're trying to find who you are because for the first time you're sort of thrown out into the world, away from the education system. You can go any which way you want. Your friends are starting to disperse. They're starting to get wives, families, cars, houses. They live across the country. Everyone's splitting off, doing their own thing. And often I found myself thinking, what is it I actually want to do? I know I want to do something in computers, like I say in this blog post. I wanted to get into video games, but I love to make websites too because I made that what's it called? Not There's No Place at Summer Camp. That's Your Best Bet. Back in 2012, and obviously got my own portfolio, and There's No Place Like Summer Camp back then as well. So I had all these ideas, and I think in my 20s I did make the most of it because I knew that the summer camp is so important to me because that was the first time where I saw like, okay, I can stray off the path that everyone else is taking. I no longer need to go to sixth form, college, university, and then job just because that's the mainstream thing to do. That's what everyone else is doing, so I should follow that path. And when I did Camp America, that was the first time where I was like, oh my God, like, I need to travel more. This is amazing. Seeing so many people, doubling my friendship group on Facebook, as pathetic as it sounds when you're sort of like 29 years old recording this, but when you're a 21-year-old, those metrics matter, man. And it's not just about the Facebook likes either. It was about all the stories that I still tell people to this day of why summer camp is so good, and is essentially why I made There's No Place Like Summer Camp, because I could have so much content that I could put out there, and that's just my first year of doing it. So after I did Camp America, I sort of had this buzz inside me that I really needed to see more of the world while I still could. Now, this blog post that I've just read to you was written 3 years after I'd actually done Camp America, so it's well in the past, and I still wanted to travel and that sort of thing. So I think it was around 2017 that I did a coach trip of Europe, a coach tour of Europe, shall I say, where I did a Kentucky trip, and I can do an episode on that probably. I'll consider it. That went all around Europe, doing all the big destinations, all of the big tourist icons of Europe over a 2-week period, and it was pretty crazy. And I just knew that in my 20s I should really make the most of being able to do that, because as soon as you start to settle down, you're starting to shut yourself off from opportunities like traveling and doing what you actually want to do. So I'm at the age of 29 now that I don't have a mortgage. I'm very close to getting one. I have a nice car. Whether I'd call it fancy, I don't know. I think within 2017, it might have even been 2018, I actually had my car written off. So I was suddenly in a position where I had to get a new car, and it made the most sense to get a nice car that would actually be modern, have all the mod cons inside, would be reliable and that sort of thing. So where do I see myself in 5 years? I thought it would be a lot more goal orientated, as in I need to achieve X, I need to achieve Y, I need to achieve Z. But instead it's more of a conversation piece where so many people are just so scared of trying something new and quitting a job that they don't like. And I can safely say that now I am much happier, much in a much happier place than I was back in 2017, where I was maybe trying to find my feet, but now at 29 I've got a really nice, great job, great girlfriend, nice car, and we're on that tipping point of where we've sort of been there and done that with the travel side and making the most of your 20s versus actually starting a family and sort of having your own, I don't know, next steps into your 30s. So an interesting episode for sure. I thought it was going to go down one avenue and it didn't. So if you did enjoy this, I can do a second episode where I sum myself up on this 5-year catch-up sort of episode. I'm going to have a think now of writing that and sort of where I see myself for the next 5 years. It'll be an interesting one for sure. So rather than keep you on the podcast, I'll go away and write that up, and I shall see you next Tuesday. Well, I'm going to leave it there. I think there may be some news in the next couple of episodes where I'm going to have to potentially put a hold on the podcast episodes, which is really unfortunate, but just because of life circumstance, it just really won't work out. So I'm going to try and figure out all of those details, and I'll definitely fill you guys in over the next couple of weeks or so. But anyway, guys, I hope you enjoyed this. If you did enjoy this, please subscribe on your podcast platform of choice, and that will mean that you will see these episodes as they come out. If you think anyone's wanting to go to summer camp or have been to summer camp before, recommend the podcast. There's the podcast, there's the book now with the same name, There's No Place Like Summer Camp. There's also a merchandise shop, and you can go and represent us that way too. So anyway, guys, thanks for listening once again, and I'll see you next Tuesday.